I was watching the final video of an American YouTube vlogger packing up his wanky BGC apartment before heading to live in Thailand, and he said, if $600 a month is going to break the bank for you, you should question whether you should move anywhere. I rewound it. I played it again. What he said was, if $600 is going to break the bank for you, you should question whether you should move anywhere. I was gobsmacked. I thought, what absolute nonsense. So I had to replay it a couple of times just to hear that the idiot was saying what I thought he had said. One of the reasons why I moved out of the UK was that I couldn't afford to live there anymore. So I moved to Asia, where it'd be a lot cheaper for me. Paying $600 a month for an apartment is going to break my bank. There's so much budget nonsense by YouTube vloggers saying if you can't afford to spend $2,000 a month in the Philippines, you don't deserve to be there.
Hello, good morning, good evening, and welcome to Big World Cinema. Without further ado, we'll continue with what you're here for.
I love doing these videos purely for the comments section. Many expats are amazed by my cost of living expenses in the Philippines. But not in a, oh, that's amazingly frugal of you. Well done, mate. Great to hear it's possible living so cheaply in the Philippines and still having a blast. More likely, there's doubting Joes disputing my figures. That's frigging impossible. What planet are you on, fella? That's not living, you're merely surviving. Look, I can't help it if a number of expats moving to the Philippines have an addiction to weight gain, stuffing their faces every 60 seconds that they need to blast their AC 36 hours a day. Nor the ignorance to shack up with thrifty Filipinas who recklessly squander their social security payments each month. Previous commenters have said that if I had a Filipina girlfriend or wife, my budget would double. I may be dumb, but I'm not that dumb. I do spend money on the odd date, odd being the operative word here, but I don't need a Filipina cash cow to relieve me of my hard-earned cash, thanks very much. So this video is a game of two halves. I spent the first 3 months of this 6-month stint in the Philippines travelling to different islands, staying in different hotels in different places. Then the second 3 months I stayed at one hotel in Manila. Accommodation is always the highest outgoing. In those first 3 months, when I visited Bohol, Dumaguete and a number of towns and cities in Mindanao, I was staying in Airbnb condos and hotels, which ranged in price from $15 to $31 per night, with my accommodation outgoings totaling $1,891 over 3 months, which averages at $630 per calendar month. Hang on. What did my American vlogger friend say about spending $600 a month on rent? Wow, I am worthy after all. I do like travelling around, discovering new places in the Philippines, but after 3 months it does get quite tiring constantly being on the road and changing your accommodation nightly or weekly. Needless to say that staying in different hotels and condos on a short-term basis works out much more expensive than staying in one place long-term. In the second 3 months, staying at one hotel in Manila, my accommodation outgoings reduced to $1,111, which averages at $370 per calendar month, which is much more affordable in my book. The second highest outgoing is for food, but also included in this category are all my food costs, groceries, coffees and going out expenses. I'm not a big drinker anymore. We'll only go for a few chilled pilsens once or maybe twice a week. I'd rather not be smelling like a beer monster at the crack of dawn, as she's not very keen on that. I generally eat in carinderias and food courts. Filipino food gets bad press. The food courts at the malls in the Philippines bear no comparison with food courts in other Asian countries. You can rarely find healthy food in most establishments. It's mainly fried or microwaved. Carinderia food has also been sitting around most of the day. I'd rather cook for myself, but I'm only able to do that whilst staying in an Airbnb condo. I only eat twice a day. I rarely go out for expensive meals. I don't see the point. Sure, if I was flushed with cash, I would treat myself to fine Filipino dining. But basically, I eat to survive, rather than piss up the wall. I'd rather use my cash to buy something tangible, like an Eat More Rice t-shirt instead. So over 6 months, I spent 109,237 pesos, £1,478, $1,910, which works out at $318 per calendar month, or just over $10 a day. We're at Mano restaurant in BGC and I'm with my Valentine's date, and we have a tiny portion of egg yolk pasta. Just to show that I don't always go to budget places for lunch, I do splash out occasionally on a 600 peso bowl of pasta.
Well, bowl of pasta, one,
Yeah.
one ravioli.
Yeah, one ravioli. Yeah, there we go. Pizza has arrived. What is this pizza? What is it?
Mozzarella, burrata, and tomato pasta.
That looks good. A bit more substantial.
Not a lot.
Like my accommodation outgoings, my travel costs were also more during the first 3 months as I was travelling around more on buses and taxis. I've found that long distance bus journeys in the Philippines are pretty reliable and comfortable too. Buses are never crowded. It's quite amusing that you can travel on a bus for 4 hours for around 200 pesos, then pay the same amount in a short taxi ride from the bus station to your hotel. In Manila, I live in an area where most of the places I journey to are within a 5-kilometre radius. I generally take motorbike taxis covering short journeys to BGC or Makati. There's a choice of different companies to choose from. If you're in other cities like Davao, there are only car taxis, which aren't as much fun. Many foreigners won't use motorbike taxis, saying the roads are too dangerous. Sure, some of the drivers aren't great, but I love this mode of travel on the back of a bike. The costs are crazy too. A 1-kilometre journey taking around 10 minutes is around 60 pesos, and a 7-kilometre journey taking 40 minutes costs only double that, 120 pesos, which is pretty bizarre, but I'm not complaining. Over 6 months, I spent 16,204 pesos, which is 219 quid or $283. During the first 3 months, I also took 2 internal flights. I took one flight from Manila to Panglao and another from General Santos to Manila, with the total cost for both flights being 6,452 pesos. It's 87 quid or $113. The price of flights once you reach Asia is incredibly cheap. It's so convenient to nip out of the country, take a flying visit to a neighbouring Asian country for peanuts, or less than $100 return. Rather than attempting to use the online visa service, I will go to the nearest immigration office to get my visa extended. To save myself 1,000 pesos, I asked for the non-express service. Drop my passport off and collect it 5 days later, if I'm staying in that area for more than a week, which I generally am. Some offices only offer an express service, however, which takes from 10 minutes to 2 to 3 hours to process, depending in which city you're in. The cost of staying in the Philippines for 6 months on a tourist visa is 8,280 pesos, which is 112 quid, $145. My ACR card was still valid on this trip, so I didn't need to splash out an extra $50 to have it renewed. It's great that you're able to stay in the Philippines for 3 years on a tourist visa before having to leave the country, which is very welcoming compared to the length of stay that other Asian countries restrict you. 2 of the major telecommunication companies in the Philippines are Globe and Smart. For years I used a Globe SIM and kept having to subscribe to a new package each week. But having a dual SIM phone, I now also have a Smart SIM, which offers a 60GB data offer for 700 pesos, with no expiration date, which Globe doesn't offer. Often the Smart data coverage has a better reception than the hotel's Wi-Fi, so it's well worth the extra expense. With $30 worth of data easily lasting me 6 months. Spectacles are not very expensive in the Philippines, but buying spectacles for my prescription is a pain in the arse. I'm on my 3rd pair of glasses in 5 years. I need bifocals now. Please don't advise me to get progressive lenses, as I've already tried them, and with only around 60% of the lens actually operational, I don't feel that's very progressive at all. Plus, I couldn't walk straight wearing them. So with my abysmal eyesight, I prefer thin lenses. But finding thin glass, bifocal and photochromic lenses within the same frame is quite a difficult ask in the Philippines. For me, anyway. And I've tried all the big brands in the big cities. If you're living out in the sticks, and even in Cebu City, your request is normally sent to Manila to process, so will take a week to 10 days. The most recent pair of spectacles I bought in Manila was at Executive Optical and cost 7,111 pesos, which is 96 quid or $124. I buy contact lenses online through Lazada or Shopee, which I wear on special occasions such as going on dates. So a box of 30 disposable contact lenses will normally last me 6 months. Drugs are expensive in the Philippines. I'm not talking cannabis or cocaine, which, if caught in your possession, will give you access to pretty undesirable accommodation flatmates for an unforgettable experience. So if you like what you're seeing here, hello, and want to stay connected with life in the Philippines, I think you need to subscribe and click the notification bell. Thank you. But I'm talking about my medication, Centrum Silver Advance multivitamins, plus have recently started taking a daily calcium tablet, as I recently discovered at my bone scan medical in Kuala Lumpur that my bone density is lacking. Hopefully I can avoid hip transplants that the rest of my family are queuing up for, lying down. Over 6 months I spent 5,505 pesos, £74, $96. I don't have many clothes and don't buy much new clothing each year. You don't say, shout my subscribers. The Philippines isn't a groovy nation where fashion is concerned. When I walk round the clothes shops in the malls, I rarely see clothes that I like. So I've only spent 3,556 pesos, £48, $62. When I was in Bangkok last year, there were so many shirts that I liked, I could have bought a shirt in every store. But you don't really need a vast wardrobe if you live in the Philippines. Although I do believe that many foreigners wandering the Philippine streets need to check the mirror before they leave their swanky condo. So here's my total expenses for the past 6 months. Additional outgoings were a day bag that cost 2,000 pesos, plus techie stuff such as a new power bank, cables, plugs, etc., totaling 3,570 pesos. I love reading, prefer books to reading on a Kindle. Books are expensive in the Philippines, especially at fully booked stores. But there are some good second-hand chains, namely Book Sale and Biblio. But sad to say, I've only spent 880 pesos on books over the past 6 months. Total expenditure for 6 months was 341,512 pesos, £4,620 or $5,970. Just to be pedantic or thorough, I'm going to break things down even more, show the difference in expenses over the first 3 months travelling as opposed to the second 3 months staying put in Manila. The only difference really is in accommodation and travel costs. The other categories I've just divided into two. So even though I paid out $124 in the second 3 months for a pair of spectacles, I've put $62 in both categories, just to be fair. As I said, accommodation and travel costs were greater in the first 3 months than the second 3 months. The first 3 months spending of 193,881 pesos, £2,623 or $3,389 works out at an average of $1,130 per calendar month. The second 3 months spending of 147,631 pesos, £1,997 or $2,581 works out at an average of $860 per calendar month, which is definitely reasonable for staying at a hotel in Manila. But $150 more per calendar month than when I lived in Cebu City for 3 years, when my average monthly expenses were around £550 or $710 per month. But that was during the pandemic, when I was paying less than $260 for my condo in Cebu at the time. And with inflation, costs in the Philippines have increased quite a lot over the past 2 years. As an example, during the pandemic, I was buying a whole chicken at Andox for 205 pesos, whereas you can now only get half a chicken for the same price.
This one, Daddy!
It is, however, crucial to have money put aside for emergencies. I don't possess travel or medical insurance, which I'm not overly concerned about at my young age. Even if I have an accident, are ill or sick, I will just pay accordingly, hopefully. So at the moment, my current average monthly expenses living in Manila are £665 or $860 per calendar month. Despite all the idiots telling you otherwise, you really don't have to break the bank to live comfortably in the Philippines. Kindly let me know in the comments section below what you think of my living expenses. I'm so looking forward to what you're gonna have to say. The only thing I'd currently change is, as I did in Cebu, I would prefer to stay in a condo or apartment rather than stay in a hotel. My expenses for condo living would be slightly more. There'd be a water bill and electricity bill, although I don't use AC. Plus, I'd also have an extra internet bill to pay. Interestingly, I was recently watching another vlogger who's just moved to Bacolod. He's now planning on travelling to different Asian countries and to other parts of the Philippines, which is what I've been doing for the past 2 years. But he's going to keep a condo in Bacolod as a home base and return there after each trip. So for around 3 months of the year, the condo is going to be sat unoccupied whilst he's paying $400 each month to keep his possessions safe. Gosh, I wish I had his YouTube earnings to squander that kind of money.
Just a quick reminder to please click the thumbs up button if you liked the video, or thumbs down button if you didn't. Obviously. Thank you.
I'm currently looking around at potential apartments in Metro Manila. But don't worry, I'm not like one of those pompous expats who move to the Philippines and need to stay in a secluded, gated community or in a safe zone like BGC so they don't have to rub shoulders with the locals. Otherwise, what's the point of living in the Philippines? You may as well stay in New York City. I prefer keeping it real. So long everyone, take care, see you on the next video. Is that pretentious lettings? Yeah, I'm looking for a condo. Around $600 a month. Yeah, right, that's right, $600. If $600 is going to break the bank for you, you should question whether you should move anywhere. That's right.
You've been watching Uncle, the man from Bigg World Cinema. Please like, subscribe and share with your friends.